In this podcast, we talk about the challenges to digital transformation in the automotive industry. Automation, leveraging artificial intelligence, and other technologies are increasingly finding a pivotal role in the automotive industry. Although AI technologies are critical for enabling autonomous vehicles, they are also playing an increasing role in transforming customer and employee experiences. Supply chain, safety and risk identification, and in vehicle predictive maintenance are a few areas where AI has made inroads to improve customer and business operations. While technology can not only perform a range of routine physical work activities more cost effectively and efficiently than humans, they are also increasingly capable of accomplishing activities that include cognitive capabilities. Though we are on the cusp of a new automation age, digital transformation for any organization, and especially in the automotive industry, relies heavily on upskilling current employees and gaining the support of the workforce. The leadership from senior executives to on the ground workforce must buy into the overall digitalization of the enterprise, and therein lies the challenge. Swami is currently the Chief Digital Officer at Nissan Motor Corporation. With more than 23 years of driving change at a variety of organizations, from startups to Fortune 100 companies across various sectors, Swami applies his expertise in digital transformation to leverage technology as a growth driver. He is also a mentor for startups in India and is passionate and a keen observer of new disruptive tech such as EVs, drones, and additive printing. Welcome, Swami, to this podcast. We are so glad that you were able to join us.
Thank you, Mridula. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Swami, customer experience has become a driving force for the success of the automotive industry. So how can the auto industry leverage AI for hyper-personalized precision?
I think, we all agree that it's super important, for any brand to approach a customer in a timely manner, in a very personalized way. And in today's world, people have kind of come to expect of it very normally. So while hyper-personalization is a big buzzword today, if you think about it, even prior to how we do hyper-personalization with AI today, businesses were always using demographic information, manual customer segmentation, etc., and a bit of behavioral information to actually do this. Some of the key things that you really need is obviously at the foundation is data. You do need data about who's the customer, what are their preferences, because until and unless we know anything about a customer, it's going to be very difficult to provide them personalized services. Now, for hyper-personalization, once this base data is available, and obviously would be building this worldview of that particular customer as we go ahead, it's about now also creating a client segmentation, right? In terms of how do you start segmenting the client bases into broad buckets. So that way you can also see what are the similar behaviors that this particular segment of customers are doing, so that you could provide services that others are interested in that segment, but could surprise a few customers, and it could actually either increase brand spending, loyalty, and a lot of other areas as well. This weaves automatically into the targeted journeys that we actually want to give this customers, and in customer experience, defining the journeys are very, very important. So that way, which channel do we want to reach out to the customer, and all of this again goes back to, once that journey has been delivered, how do you create that feedback loop to improve hyper personalization? A simple example of an hyper-personalization is your mobile is connected to your car, charging, you go to a particular place, you stop, automatically the app pops up saying, oh yeah, should I save this? I've saved it as a parking location.
Right.
Because what past data has shown is many people, when they switch off the car in large parking lots or wherever it is, they'd like to save the location as their park location so that they can come back and find it.
Absolutely.
Exactly, right? In an hyper-personalized world, it's just very easy for some of these applications to, you don't even have to tell me. I know this is what you want to do, and I'm just giving it to you. It's there. Don't worry, taken care. Any of the people leveraging connected car applications, let's say you're going to a hotel, and typically in a large hotel, uh, you hand over the car to a valet. Okay.
True.
Most of the modern cars, connected cars, come up with a valet feature, right? And what's a valet feature? It's basically to tell that, okay, you know what, when you hand it over to the valet, your glove box is automatically locked. You ring fence the car to, it cannot go beyond a 1 kilometer, the threshold levels that can be set. And finally, it cannot go more than a 10-kilometer speed. Okay, so this is what a
Right.
valet mode does. Now, in a hyper personalized world, so the context here is you're aware that this customer has reached a hotel. What happens in that typical segment? The algorithms have learned over a period of time saying, okay, people typically go to their mobile phone, look up into the connected car app, go click on the valet mode, right? So in a hyper-personalized world, it realizes all of this. And moment somebody pulls up their mobile after getting out of their car, it says, oh yeah, you want to put it in valet mode. That's really how this is applied. And then it's really about the AI-based hyper-personalization is really about building customer relationships. Okay. And how do you use these feedback loops into
Mm-hmm.
the algorithms and adjust those customer profiles as real time as possible? You can scale and invest in campaigns that are based on data that you have, knowing on, because you can now predict how people would like to use,
Mm-hmm.
and you also know in advance which type of customer, because you've segmented them very well, to what kind of messages, what time, the probability, the conversion. And it takes the entire planning for the organization to how you want to use this for business productivity and profitability much better. So I think it's a fascinating area, still improving. And I think the best thing is it's already in use, and a lot of users don't know how hyper personalization leveraging AI is actually helping them, but it's constantly on the rise.
Very interesting because it's moved from a reactive to a predictive mode. And so putting people first to increase employee engagement, can technology actually be an enabler?
Enabler is a key word, right? So there is, in the tech industry, there's a lot of people who put in tech for the sake of tech. I think my personal belief, Mridula, is business comes first. Okay, so it's super important to understand how the business makes money, and how, to what you said, tech really is a catalyst or an enabler to accelerate. And of course, digital is a buzzword, digital transformation is a buzzword, but then
True.
it's really about how do you leverage technology, integrated to the business, fundamentally changing how you operate or deliver value to the customers. The tech industry, and of course, again, it should not be generalized, but a good part of it, there is a tendency to inject tech for the sake of tech. Uh, so in terms, and generally think about automation or anything, there is, to your point on how it matters for people and upskilling and stuff like that. So a recent trend has been, hey, is automation going to disrupt the way people work?
True.
Absolutely, it's going to disrupt the way people work. No doubt about it, right? Is it going to take people out of their jobs? And is it going to be the end of life in terms of how people see their work, et cetera, et cetera? Not necessarily. I mean, history has taught us again and again and again, as and when new technology comes, so are new and different new types of roles and responsibilities and jobs that come as well. And a very simple example, uh, we can take something as simple as automation, because people think, oh yeah, when robots came into the factories, then it's all going to be no more humans. That's not the case. Right? Still, factories are buzzing with a lot of humans, but then they're all doing work that's entirely different from what they did about a century back.
True.
So automation today, a lot of manual work happening in the organizations is, about a couple of decades back, people moved from paper into, digitized world, if you call, right?
Right.
Into Excels and Word documents and PowerPoints and databases and stuff like that. So today we're talking largely from digital to digitalized, but then there's still a lot of organizations and a lot of people in organizations that are, doing a lot of copy paste work across Excels, creating mails, which is not necessarily the most effective way to leverage the power of the human brain, right? And that's where automation is filling the gap. Really enabling tools such as, your RPA tools or low code platforms, and really upskilling the employees who were in past good at Excel. And now these tools have advanced in such a way that you don't need a techie to come in and actually deploy. They can create their own bots to really simplify the way they do their day-to-day work. A citizen bot development could be one such name, right? So where it's really making it, democratizing it across the organization, and really people kind of getting into it, developing their own bots so that their time is well spent in terms of a lot of value added work rather than the
Right.
mundane, repetitive work that they need to do on their computers, right? And to your question on upskilling, this is a very simple example of how technology can really help upskill, especially when it comes to automation.
How can organizations engineer change management to leverage their core capabilities for maximum profitability?
The biggest challenge is change management. And to me, uh, digital transformation is a little less about technology. Yes, technology is the enabler catalyst. Then the key is really change management. If the business leaders and the people on the ground who are running the business processes day to day and running the business, if they're not buying into it and the change management is not effective in injecting technology in a seamless way for them to operate, there's no use of talking about digital transformation. What I've seen work very specifically with respect to technology is top level. There should be a very clear problem statement, the whys of why we're doing digital transformation. Is it about improving customer experience? Is it about reducing friction? Is it about increasing productivity? Or is it about profitability? And then the way that I see it is, again, three parts. There's of course the market facing transformation. Many organizations have products or services. How is it going to impact that? And now, how are you going to use some of these internally to digitally operate better than before, right? And the third part is really how do you instill a digital mindset in terms of change management? Talking to be the CEO or the COO or CFO or business line leaders, it's super important to understand how we make money, how technology can actually help, both top line, bottom line, or very specifically solve the problems the organization is currently going through. And it's super important to relate these two in as simple words as possible that the executives understand, the stakeholders understand, the sponsors understand. And when it comes to the ground level, it should be translated in a way that's effective. And these are all part of communication. End of the day, it boils down to execution. So how do you show small wins? Yes, it's fantastic to describe the big wise vision of how this is going to be great
Right.
for the organization. But we've all seen, a lot of examples of how digital transformation has really transformed the organization and how digital transformation has failed as well. And if you see a lot of cases, it boils down to, you know, effective or ineffective change management. So while the big vision's established, it's super important to, you know, double click and show small wins. And how do you do that? Now, when people are saying no, obviously, you know, you can't go push. So in any organization, there are supporters, there are people who are like, you know, skeptics, and then there are detractors. So maybe pick up some of the strong supporters and start showing good wins, small wins in terms of what it really means. And then you can slowly start getting more people from the detractor camp onto the supporter camp over a
Correct.
period of time, because then you've started showing results, effectively communicating it. Right now, we get this, that this is not a threat. This actually helps add a lot of value to the corporation.
Right.
It's good for our customers, our products, our employees, shareholders, whatever it is, all the stakeholders really, right? And instilling this as part of the key cultural transformation within the organization, that making a lot of people get into what we call as the digital mindset. Start thinking, you know, can technology, of course, we've got this business problem. How can technology help solve this problem? It should not be, oh yeah, I love doing something with AI. Hey, can we do something with AI? No, it's not about AI or deep learning or machine learning. Absolutely fantastic tools that are going to change the way that we look at a lot of things. It's already changed and it's going to change
Right.
more. But then what's the business problem that we're talking about? That should come first. And then, of course, tech, as you said, acts as the enabler catalyst in terms of really solving it. So change management to me is the single most holy grail of how digital transformation could be successful or not successful in an organization.
Very true. So it's you get a clear end goal, clear communication, a lot of reassurance to the employees that this is going to help them and not harm them in any way. And it's also a question of proof in the pudding to actually show small wins. And
Absolutely.
I think that these are some of the core ways that you can actually convince mid management perhaps to go with you. And how do you work if a mid management or a mid management employee comes to you with this, this idea, and how do they effectively convince, upper management to say, okay, this is something that we should involve? How would you advise them to go about it?
Yeah, I think communication and storytelling is a big part of it. Like you said, it's not just about a top-down approach everywhere. A lot of good ideas really come from the ground, because the people that are working on it on a day-to-day basis
Right.
understand what exactly the problem is, than people in many cases, right, than some of the executives. So I think it's super important to have a strong listening to ideas coming from anywhere within the organization. Seen employees get super enthusiastic and say, hey, I've got this problem. And on the other side, they've heard some technology that this could solve. And somewhere it becomes a little less about the problem itself. And think, hey, I heard, machine learning can help me predict better. So
Right.
then the crux becomes the buzzword and the keyword. So I think
Right.
what's really worked for me in many cases is helping them articulate to their own executives, right, the business line leaders, etc., in terms of what it means. And it could be a simple business process, right, that has been there for the past 10 years but could be entirely redefined because there's now technology and stuff that's available.
Right.
Instead of the 10 or 12 steps in that process, it could probably be a 3-step today. So I think helping them, hearing them, helping them articulate the story better, and what it really means to the organization, I think that goes a long way. And to me, somewhere in the entire digital journey, I think the problem should be owned by the business. It should not be the technology teams or the digital teams coming in and saying, oh yeah, we know this, we're going to crack, we know this, everything. No, the business knows the process much better. Of course, there are going to be domain experts in the technology side, etc. Absolutely. But then when the problems are owned, now you've got the executive support. Now you've got the middle management or the people on the ground who know the business process. They want to affect the change. I think that's a lovely spot to be in. Technology comes in as that catalyst and enabler and solves it. So again, tactically, in many organizations, I've seen ideas that various functions can post, and everybody upvotes ideas that are most critical, important, etc. It at a scale, it really helps bubble up important problems for the organization. So tactically, I've seen a lot of organizations and the multitude of tools that allow this to happen, so that people also feel saying, oh yeah, my idea is getting upvoted. And over a period of time, you see that the quality and the input that goes into these ideas also start improving over months. So that's been adopted, and that could be a very simple way as to how you could democratize sourcing ideas from within the organization to problem. And it's not like only the executives know how to solve the problem or what the problem is. And this could be a fantastic way to really look at how do you affect changes in business processes that have been archaic and really take them to next.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Swami. It was really interesting talking to you. You brought out so many interesting points, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who actually will, hear this and learn and understand and think, more importantly, about how they can bring digital transformation as a holistic change in their organization, and not just these small tweaks and buzzwords as you mentioned it. So thank you so much for joining us, and it was really great having you.
Thank you, Mridula. Thanks for the conversation, and really appreciate it. And it was nice to be here.
Thank you so much.